Hey everybody, it's day 9 of my 90-day challenge, and I ran into a problem with zombie pirates. This is like my first major problem. I spent 2 days doing the animation of the ships, right? So, the first day I did the 2 ships following each other, and then the one speeds off. Second day I did the Defiance, and it just, kind of goes across the screen, and that's it. Well, here is Adobe After Effects, and this is where I take that pink and I remove it. So we have, the clay and the ships and the sky, and it's all separate elements. So here's just the sky by itself. Here's the ships, the waves, and the fish comes out and splashes, and well, you probably can't tell on this video, but let me see if I can zoom in. Maybe you can actually. If you zoom in, you'll notice that there's a lot of jagged lines. All these lines here, all these details, and that's because and you can see here if I move the frames forward, how you get like this little ripply pattern around the edges. What else? I ran into a problem where I noticed that here's a still frame, and it looks good probably on camera, but if we zoom in and look at this ship on the right, the Rusty Cork, you'll see that there's like this strange edge on everything. And it turns out that the telephoto lens that I'm using here on my Olympus, the telephoto lens has this thing where I guess because of the shape and the qualities of the lens itself, when it brings the light in, it's actually distorting everything around the edges. So it's kind of like this. If you could probably take a picture of a grid with that camera, you would notice that everything around the edges like this, outside of it, is blurred, and everything in this very center is sharp. So I was able to overcome that by zooming in After Effects, and you can see I zoomed in, and so let's see. Actually, I moved it, so I think it was here. Yeah, so I moved it, and it's not a problem that it was blurred around the edges, but all these jagged lines and stuff are a big problem. I did a few tests making some ABI files, and let's see, here's one where I ended up sharpening it. I tried to do a lot of different tricks within After Effects to make it look good. And it probably looks good, like I say, when you look at it here, because you don't see it sharp on like I can see it on my own screen. So I mean, it works and everything looks okay, but when you cut this into the other scenes that I shot, here's the scene that comes directly after that shot, and the clarity of the image of this is like 100 times better than the small ships. Okay, so basically that means I have to scrap those shots. I mean, the shots are worthless. So it's kind of frustrating, but this sort of stuff happens all the time in animation. You set stuff up, you think you're gonna do a great job, and then you composite it or cut it into your scene, and then the limiting factors of the technology with After Effects are why I can't make the shot work. All the setting up of the aluminum foil to get the little lights under the ship and everything, I can't do that with the way I'm going to do it now. And I realized I had to redo it. And I think somebody mentioned that why don't you just take the ship, take a picture of it, take a picture of the waves, take a picture of each individual element, and then put it in After Effects and animate it within After Effects. Now I didn't want to do that because it's to me it's not really like you're animating it, you're just letting the computer do the animation. In this case, that's probably okay because it's the only way that I can make really large images of the ships and the different elements so that I won't get those jagged lines. And that's a major problem, and it looks like junk. So I'm going to take some high quality pictures in the garage, and I'm going to import them into the computer and see if I can get a better looking shot that way. So that's what I'm going to work on. So I just spent about maybe another hour working on taking the pictures of, let's see, the waves, the ships, and the little fish. So here's Photoshop, and what I've done is I've taken and made some layers. The back layer is green, so I can remove it. This is the farthest set of waves. This is the mid-level waves. So these are the waves that I had between the foreground and the background waves that, if you remember, I said that I animated them moving too fast and it looked like the ships were slowing down and speeding up depending on how I moved those. And let's see. So what I did is I just took the eraser tool like this and went through here and just removed any pink. So I made sure it's nice and clean. Then below that I just took the eyedropper tool and I just made the bottom a solid blue. And let's see, then what else I have here? The rusty cork, and this is going to be nice and clean when it's removed in After Effects because it's a lot sharper. It's closer to the camera when I took this picture, so I shouldn't get any of those like zigzag lines that I had before. Let's see, this is the foreground waves. I just took a brush tool and made these little waves here, or textures, just in case I should raise this up too high in the shot so I won't have, you know, green below it. The Defiance and the fish. So I'm going to take all these elements and import them into Adobe After Effects and animate them in there, and hopefully it will look nice. So it's pretty disappointing that I had to redo all this stuff, but that's one of the things that happens in filmmaking. And you know, when something like this happens, you know, like 2 days worth of work, well, actually it's like a week because all the time to light the set and all that. I mean, the lighting didn't go to waste because I used that same lighting for the pictures I took for these elements, so it'll all look like it's part of the same set. It all have a continuity to each component. Anyway, so it's like, you know, you just have to go with the flow. You just have to keep moving forward, and but what can I say? It happens. And I actually ended up working. It's now like 12:30 in the morning. I finished the first shot, and I think it came out pretty good. So here's what we got. So it's basically the same thing as before. Just as I said, every element was animated in the computer separately as layers. You know, like the waves are a layer, the boats are a layer. And, you know, so if you can't find one solution, try to find another. And that's what I did, and it seemed to work. So, alright, that's it for today.
Ahoy there, Ruble! Ahoy there, Ruble! We need more slack on the aft mizzen rope. We're losing speed. Remove the rope at once.
Yeah, right away, sir.